Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you with another mail haul or book haul, whatever you want to call it. I'd gotten recently a whole bunch of books in the mail from Todd at the Bursting Bookcase, and I have been eternally grateful for them. They are a great collection of history. He knows I like to read nonfiction, and he's been, if you follow his channel, he's been in the last several months cleaning out his shelves and shelves of books. He's got a awesome collection. His nonfiction is a-okay. So anyway, he's been giving books to the for credit at the bookstore. He's been giving them away to people that he knows would enjoy them and get some use out of them, and I have been one of those lucky recipients. And so this is part 2 of the book haul or mail haul from Todd. So I'm going to show these to you. Before I do that, I do have another folio society to show you that I'd actually got from the library 2 weeks ago. And this one's still in the wrapper, so hopefully it's not too shiny. But this is Empires of the Ancient Near East. And it is a 4-book set. Pretty awesome stuff. It is the Hittites from O.R. Gurney, the Babylonians from H.F. Saggs, the Persians from J.M. Cook, and the Egyptians from Alan Gardner. And so I'm real happy to have those. They're pretty sharp. And like I said, this one is still in the package. These are brand new, and I got them for free. That is some, just top-notch stuff. I'm pretty excited about that. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and show you the other. This is the last of the Folio Society books that I got. And this is The Normans by David Douglas. So it's a nice little volume. Let me take it out of the casing here. Yeah. Pretty excited about this. The end papers. Got a nice map of Europe there from 1100. It's this one is from David Douglas, introduced by M.T. Clancy. It's from, of course, London and the Folio Society. It's a 2002 edition. And just like those other ones I showed you in the previous video, it's got a whole set of, pictures and stuff on the inside. Got a lot of the old buildings. And of course, this is another topic that I teach in history. I talk about the Norman invasion of England and William the Conqueror, and so this will be. And I have not read very extensively in that area. I'm a novice when it comes to this era, so this is going to be a nice little addition for me. I can not only have a really nice volume, but I can learn a little bit in the process. So let me get into this stack of books. Okay, so this first part, this stack is going to be primarily World War II stuff. And this first stack is actually a set of 4 books, and it's called Doctors of Death. And what it does is it talks about, I believe, I have not read them, but it talks about the doctors in the Holocaust, is what I was guessing anyway. And so this is a 4-book set. I had never seen this before. I thought it was it's kind of neat, kind of, disturbing, but yeah. Anyway, it's from 1976, and it's just got a lot of stuff on the. It looks like what they were, maybe experiments they were doing, doctors that were involved, what was going on. This is a little bit of a guess. I'm just kind of flipping through pages. But anyway, that was a nice little set to add to the collection when you're studying, the atrocities of World War II. It's kind of disturbing. And so this is Bombing Hitler. This is the story of the man who almost assassinated the Fuhrer by Helmut G. Hassis. I'm not sure how to say that. Translated by William Odom. So, obvious what this one's about. Assassination Attempt. It says, George Elser was just an ordinary working-class citizen living in Munich, Germany. He was employed as a carpenter and had spent some time working in a watch factory. That all changed when he took it upon himself, without telling his family or friends, to single-handedly attempt to assassinate the most powerful man in all of Germany, the Führer, Adolf Hitler. Elser's plan centered on the Burger Brockkeller, the Munich beer hall, where he knew Hitler would be making a speech. Working slowly and in secret, he started to assemble the bomb that he would use to try to kill Hitler. When finished, the bomb was hidden in a hollowed-out space near the speaker's podium. The bomb went off successfully, killing 8 people, but Hitler was not one of them. Bombing Hitler is an incredible tale that takes you back to 1939 and recreates the steps that led Elser from the Munich beer hall to his attempted escape across the Swiss border, and sadly to the concentration camp where his heroic life ended. Read for the first time the epic and tragic story of a man who stood up for what he knew was right, opposed the most powerful man in Germany, and came close to single-handedly ending the war. You know, it's one of those, this is one of those books, it's like, or one of those stories, it's like a what if in history. What if he would have been successful? How could that have changed what was going on in Europe? Would we have had as many people die? I would argue definitely not, because I think without Hitler, I think this movement definitely takes a whole new turn and is not nearly as successful. So, you know, just one of the what ifs of history. So, oh yeah, I forgot to say. I think I forgot to say. It's from Skyhorse Publishing, and it's a 2013 book. 2013. So the next one in the stack's a nice paperback. It's Valkyrie, an insider's account of the plot to kill Hitler. I know there was a movie not that long ago. Had, oh goodness. Going blank on his name. Had the guy from Mission Impossible. I'm going blank on his name. Anyway, this is the Da Capo Press, and it is from the year 2009. It says, when on July 20th, 1944, a bomb boldly placed inside Hitler's headquarters by Colonel Klaus Count von Stauffenberg exploded without killing the Führer, the subsequent coup d'etat against the Third Reich, codenamed Valkyrie, collapsed. The conspirators were summarily shot or condemned in show trials and sadistically hanged. One of the few survivors of the conspiracy was Hans Bernd Gisevius, who had used his position in the Gestapo and the Abwehr, the military intelligence, to further the anti-Nazi plot. He knew well, or had met the major figures involved in planning Valkyrie, including General August Beck, Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, Colonel Hans Oster, and von Stauffenberg. The conspiracy was widespread, involving a wide circle of former politicians, diplomats, and government officials, as well as senior military men. The anti-Hitler movement, largely motivated by moral outrage rather than by political expediency, had started as early as 1933 and involved several pushes and assassination attempts. So that'll be a good one to read. Again, they made that movie, and I saw that movie, and I don't remember a whole lot about it, honestly. So this will be a nice way to look at that again. See maybe a little better look at it. All right, so this next book is The Brutal Friendship, Mussolini, Hitler, and the Fall of the Italian Fascism by F.W. Deacon. This is kind of a chunky monkey of a book. It's a big boy. And, of course, I teach about Hitler and Mussolini and some of the other characters there at the beginning of World War II. And so this is going to be a nice little addition to the group. It's from Harper Row Publishers out of New York, and it is a 1962 book. 1962. And it says, based largely on new and unpublished material, The Brutal Friendship is an outstanding contribution to contemporary history. Specifically, it is the history of the turbulent, often inflamed relations between Germany and Italy. De Führer and El Duce a study in power and in the rivalries between the two towering, twisted personalities. The book begins in the autumn of 1942, for Italy a moment of crisis. The assumptions with which Mussolini had entered the conflict had now been destroyed. The campaigns in Greece and Libya had resulted in increased dependence on German armies. The plan to take Malta and secure shipping routes to Egyptian theater had been superseded by the German North African strategy. Italy's continuance in the war was virtually dependent on Germany's economic and military support. And for the first time, military initiative now lay with the Allies. With meticulous care, the author has reconstructed the activities of the fascist regime in Italy, reeling under the hammer blows of Alamein, the Allied landings in French North Africa and Stalingrad. He examines the confusion, the personal rivalries, and the inefficiency of Italo-German cooperation on the diplomatic, military, and political levels. And he indicates how, as the artificiality of the Axis alliance became more apparent to Italian leaders, the authority and prestige of Duce himself came into question. The reader watches in fascination the maneuverings which culminated in the downfall of Mussolini after the stormy all-night meeting of the Fascist Grand Council in July of 1943. He reads of the SS paratroopers who audaciously abducted Mussolini from the mountain internment camp preliminary to the resumption of power in the puppet Nazi Republic of the North. And he continues the story of the inexorable disintegration of fascism, culminating in Mussolini's assassination. In writing The Brutal Friendship, the author made wide use of captured archives of the German war and foreign offices, as well as similar Italian material abandoned during the final collapse of the Salo Republic. The material also includes records from the Axis summit conferences, police files, espionage reports, private correspondence, diaries, journals kept by the individuals involved in the events, and interviews with eyewitnesses of the events described. F.W. Deacon says about his own career, "I have for many years been closely associated with Sir Winston Churchill. Apart from my university posts, I have been both a soldier and a diplomat, and directly involved in the Yugoslav affairs, in particular, and attached to Marshal Tito in 1943 as head of the first British mission, and later in the British Embassy in Belgrade. I have served on British government commissions in London and frequently lectured abroad." And so, this will be a nice little look at the teamwork or lack of teamwork between two of the most, evil dictators of our time. So that'll be a good one for me. You can learn a little bit. The next one's a newer volume. This is 1 Square Mile of Hell, The Battle for Tarawa by John Wukowitz. It's kind of a neat cover. I kind of like that. A little bit more World War II stuff. This is a NAL Caliber, and it's 2006 book. It's got some nice pictures in the middle there. Kind of like that. I always like pictures. Gives me a visual of everything that's going on. But anyway, I'll read the cover to you here. In the Tarawa Atoll lies the tiny islet of Bisio, barely a speck on the map in the Pacific Ocean. In November of 1943, the young men of the 2nd Marine Division watched in awe as naval and air bombardments smashed and incinerated the island and its Japanese defenses. When they were to simply sweep across the island, clearing out any token resistance and return to the waiting ships. But when the Marines landed, the truth became nightmarishly clear as the Japanese, most of whom had incredibly survived the onslaught, poured out their protective subterranean bunkers and began one of the most brutal and bloody encounters of World War II. During the ensuing 3 days of non-stop fighting, the entire island was transformed into an all-encompassing kill zone. Attackers and defenders faced off with one another over every square inch of sand in a battle with no defined front lines, in which combatants found themselves mixed together in a chaotic hell of crossfires, and where there was no possibility of retreat, if only because there was nowhere to retreat to. It was a clash that would leave both sides stunned and exhausted, and prove both the fighting mettle of the Americans and the fanatical devotion of the Japanese. Drawn from new sources such as participants' letters and diaries, exclusive first-hand interviews with survivors of those bloody 3 days, 1 Square Mile of Hell is the riveting true account of a battle between two determined foes, neither of whom would ever look at the other in the same way again. All right, so that's going to be pretty exciting stuff, looking at some World War II stuff out in the Pacific. Continuing with World War II in the Pacific, this is The 1,000-Mile War, World War II in Alaska and the Aleutians by Brian Garfield. It's got a pretty cool cover. I like that cover. Nice little painting there. Sorry about the glare. And this is from Nelson Doubleday out of Garden City, New York, and it is a 1981 book. And it says here, this is a pretty short one, it says, here's the seldom explored and never better told story of the Japanese invasion of Alaska and the Aleutians in June of 1942. Planned to draw the American naval forces from the impending battle at Midway, the Japanese attack initiated the first American offensive of the war, the first mass airlift ever executed, the last daylight gun battle between surface ships in naval history, and the first American victory of the war. So this is going to be good stuff for me. I've never, ever read anything on the fighting in Alaska and the Aleutian Islands. I knew it happened, but I've never read anything on it, so that'll be really interesting. So just a couple books left here. The next one is Seizing the Enigma, The Race to Break the German U-Boat Codes of 1939 to 1943 by David Kahn. He's the author of The Code Breakers. All right. And I read a book I think it was last year on Code Breakers. It was really interesting. Talked a lot about the women who were involved in it. That was kind of neat to see. It's a Barnes & Noble book out of New York, and it's 1998, this one is. And I'll read the back cover to you. It says, Seizing the Enigma tells a story of one of the great dramas of World War II. A multinational corps of cryptologists struggle to break the German U-boat codes that were helping Nazi submarine wolf packs tear at the lifeline between America and Britain. But these code breakers realized that German messages could not be read without obtaining the encryption keys from the ships that held them. Several daring captures at sea of key documents and encryption machines by the Royal Navy finally led to mastering the U-boat codes. David Kahn begins his narrative with the creation of the Enigma machine in 1918 and its refinements during the 2 decades leading up to World War II. He introduces readers to key figures on both sides of the battle. Arthur Scherbius, who gave the Germans a boost in the race between codemaker and codebreaker. Polish mathematician Marian Rejewski, who was able to reconstruct the Enigma keys, and a crucial piece of the puzzle in the odd assortment of scientists, chess champions, and linguists assembled by the British government at Bletchley Park. Chief among them, Alan Turing, who spearheaded the effort to crack the code. Yet, ultimately, it was as much bold action at sea as code breaking in back rooms that broke the Enigma and won the Battle of the Atlantic. All right, so that's going to be good. That'll be a good addition to what I've already read on that. This next one's a pretty old book. It's really neat. It says The Control of Germany and Japan by Harold Moulton and Louis Marlio, published by the Brookings Institute. It's kind of a paperback, very slim volume here, and it is from Washington, D.C., Brookings Institute, 1944. And just kind of a neat little volume. I think it's just about what they were fighting, maybe the military, like what they were getting into. I don't know. I haven't looked at this too much. Probably need to. look at a little bit more. But kind of a neat little volume. And then last but not least, another World War II. And this is another book, another dual biography, it looks like, about two of the worst guys who ever lived. It's Franco and Hitler, by Spain, Germany, and World War II, by Stanley G. Payne. And so this will be the last one in the stack. So I'll go ahead and read the cover. It is Yale University Press from New Haven in London. And it's a 2008 book. And it says, was Franco sympathetic to Nazi Germany? Why didn't Spain enter World War II? In what ways did Spain collaborate with the Third Reich? And to what extent did Spain assist Jewish refugees? This is the first book in any language to answer these intriguing questions. Stanley Payne, a leading historian of modern Spain, explores the full range of Franco's relationship with Hitler from 1936 to the fall of the Reich in 1945. But as Payne brilliantly shows, relations between these two dictators were not only a matter of realpolitik. These two titanic egos engaged in an extraordinary tragicomic drama, often verging on the dark absurdity of a Beckett and Ionesco play. Whereas Payne investigates the evolving relationship of the two regimes up to the conclusion of World War II, his principal concern is the enigma of Spain's unique position during the war, as a semi-fascist country struggling to maintain a tortured neutrality. Why Spain did not enter the war as a German ally, joining Hitler to seize Gibraltar and close the Mediterranean to the British Navy, is at the center of Payne's narrative. Franco's only personal meeting with Hitler in 1940 to discuss precisely this is recounted here in groundbreaking detail that also sheds a significant new light on the Spanish government's facilitating policy toward Jewish refugees on the Holocaust and on Spain's German connection throughout the duration of the war. All right, so that'll be a nice little addition. Help me with my teaching World War II right at the very beginning of the war, when it was the rise of the dictators, and so that'll be a nice little eye opener for me. So anyway, I want to thank Todd again. This has been an awesome stack of books that he just graciously sent to me, and I really appreciate it. It's really good stuff, and I think he knows how much I really like history, and just know that your books are coming to a good place here in the Ruttenberg Library, Todd. So thank you for that. And BookTube, I thank you for watching, especially if you lasted this long. Thank you for that. And I just hope everyone's having a great day, enjoying the sunshine outside. So until next time, BookTube, as always, happy reading.